Don't call her cute, don't call her feisty. She's a rebel, she is nasty, she is brave. She isn't honey, sweetie, sugar pie, baby. And don't you ever say that she was well behaved. Don't you ever say that she was well behaved. And don't you ever say that she was well behaved.
I finished this notebook with this.
Oh my God.
One.
That's so exciting.
Very exciting. Yeah.
What a good feeling.
But then I started using this new one, which is like
it's smaller.
It's like a free moleskin that I got from some festival, but it's like college lined, and you know what that means?
Yeah,
college
instead of
like,
wide
it's like
roll.
thin, and I hate it. And I don't know what to do. It's like my handwriting is too big for these little lines.
Can you adjust to taking up 2 lines?
I might just have to do that because it's pretty big, and I just think it'll make my life better. Or like maybe like skipping a line or something.
Or
basically taking up 2, but like.
Yeah, either whichever one you're more comfortable with.
I
Whatever
think
makes you happy.
skipping one might be actually, now that I said that out loud, I think skipping one might be good because it's just that like sometimes I'm not very good at staying in the lines. My handwriting is very messy.
Really? I love your handwriting.
Are you kidding? I hate my handwriting.
Because it's like it's kind of girly in that, I mean, sorry to gender your handwriting, but you know what I mean? Like it's not obnoxiously bubbly.
Oh my God, I think it's so messy and ugly. I just think it doesn't look like nice on a page. I hate it.
I guess it depends on how you define nice.
Yeah.
My handwriting varies so greatly from like depending on what I'm writing.
Yeah. This is very vulnerable.
This looks really nice.
You can't read it.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't even reading it.
It's from the Depth of 1,000 Cuts
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Are you still doing it?
I am, I mean, like I'm not as like I'm on week 3, day 4, and like it's been probably 4 weeks. So I'm
That's
like,
okay.
I just like this. I just keep if I can't do it, I skip it.
Yeah,
for a day. So
do we.
But I'm still just like trucking along. Yeah, I like it. I just did the one. This was the one where you write a letter to like a demon that prevents you from writing. That was a weird week. Yeah. So it was like, a lot of like depressive stuff.
I remember in mine I wrote like, make sure to use the dog against the girl. Like, her biggest weakness is the dog.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I might turn you down a little bit. Okay. Which one are you, though? Ooh, we will find out. Oh, that's it.
Am I number 2 or am I number
1? Number 1, baby.
Inside baseball.
Might turn me down a little, too. Okay. Yeah, no, I know. There's all this stuff. I was just being like, keep telling her that she's bad.
Oh.
So, yeah. Anyways, but yeah, it's been pretty good. Which, by the way, I don't know if we've talked about that on this before.
We have.
Oh, we have? Okay. Mm-hmm. Like the writing program.
The Death of 1,000 Cuts.
Like
Couch to 80K. Podcast.
So fun. Oh my God, I want to color with those pens.
Oh, we can.
Maybe we do that later. We do have to record 2.
We're gonna record 2.
So we'll see how we feel after all that.
We can treat ourselves. Dinner. That can be our little
We could
reward.
treat ourselves. I maybe, depending on how late this ends, I maybe should text Louis and see what he's up to because he's leaving again for like a while. So we'll see. But it might also just be late, and I'll just want to color one thing and then go home because like it's gonna be late. So we'll see.
Yeah,
how late
I came home last night, and Sasha. I mean, I hadn't seen Shaki, and I just like haven't been home together for a while. And I came home, and he had like just gotten a stressful email, and then I got like kind of like offended because I was like, I came home and I just wanted to see you. And then I took Bamford on a walk, and then I calmed down, and then I was like, tell me about your day, and we communicated our way through it.
Wow, I'm so proud of you.
I was pretty proud of me too.
Yeah, I know.
And now he's making us dinner.
I know. Well, that was the plan. I'm glad that you guys didn't fight so much that the dinner got canceled.
No, it's like I like that our fights
what
are
I was looking
so
forward
stupid.
To. Yeah, that's great. Then you get over them.
I was wearing lipstick and he wouldn't kiss me because
I know, but actually you were wearing a matte lip color that doesn't spit like.
Okay, well, so
it doesn't transfer.
Yeah, well, so I was like trying to prove that.
Oh.
And I kissed my hand, and then like there was color on my hand, and I was like, damn it. So
but the lipstick looked really good.
Thank you.
So sorry, Shaki. Get used to it, bitch.
We did all-female reboot last night.
Oh yeah,
everybody was wearing an amazing lip.
It was very fun. My family came. They had a really good time.
I'm so glad they were there.
They got so toasted before.
Did they?
Yeah. Well, we were at dinner, and it was like my aunt and uncle were in town from Vermont, and they everyone else was just like drinking at dinner, and then they had like kind of time to kill before, so they had a drink at the theater too. So I'm like, yeah, they just were like definitely a few drinks in. My mom wasn't. She doesn't really drink.
Was she there last night?
She was there, yeah.
God.
But she doesn't really like to drink. So
no, but I'm glad she saw this show.
Yeah, I'm glad they all saw this one, because the first one that they came to was like our worst show.
We had a bad show once.
We did.
Only once.
It really was. That was like literally the only bad one that they came to. And then I was nervous because this one we actually had like a lighter audience than we usually had, because we didn't get into the skin for some reason. So, which is like this newsletter. And so it was like, I was very nervous when I saw the audience size, but actually, even though it was small, they were very like excited.
Great.
They were mighty.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
You were so good. You're always just so good. I'm always so impressed by like
you're
your
so good
acting
too.
skills.
I think we're like really getting a good groove.
Yeah, and everybody, I was like struggling with this, I guess, last month, and then I kind of like got over it. But like, I always feel very like whenever we have rehearsals or pitch meetings, I always feel intimidated because I look around the room and I'm like, all of these women are so funny and so talented, and like, what am I doing here?
No, are you kidding?
Well, and then I like thank you for saying that, but I like had to really like do some free writing about it, of like my feelings towards it and like how to get over that, because like we all deserve to be there. It's just like everybody in that room is so good.
I know. I agree.
It's a beautiful problem.
I'm looking at this thing and I'm realizing, did I spell this woman's name wrong?
I mean, it doesn't, as long as you spell it right in the description.
No, but it would change the way that I pronounce it.
Oh.
So well, I'm gonna look at my phone real quick.
You look at your phone real quick. I'll tell you, last night I came home and we had that like stupid fight, and then I walked Bamford and I came home, and then I watched the Correspondence Dinner.
Oh yeah, I watched it when I woke up. I was gonna say this morning, but more like 1:30.
I know. I went to sleep at 3:30 because I had a Red Bull last night for the first time in 6 years, and thought that my heart was gonna explode.
Oh my God, you had a Red Bull last night, like before the show, because you were so tired.
I was so tired.
Oh my God.
Which like story of my life, and I very rarely do that, but like, you know, a show, like, it's not just stand up, you know, like you're like, you don't have to be on for 8 minutes. You have to be on for an hour.
I always forget. Like, I got home last night after like having the drink with people, and I got home and I was like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted.
It takes
like,
so much out of you.
Yeah. I like always forget.
Okay. But I love it. Okay. But so I got home and I like saw a couple tweets about it, but I don't think shit had like really hit the fan yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let me watch it, because I was like, I bet Michelle was like very funny. And I watched it and I was like, okay, great. That was great. That was like pretty funny overall. Yeah. Like most of the jokes were great. They were clever. They were like smart. And then this morning I like got on Twitter and everybody's mind had exploded because somebody was mean for a second.
Yeah. And it's the weirdest part to me is that like she never said anything about Sarah Huckabee Sanders' looks.
Yeah,
it's literally
really
she says
weird.
The two things she says about it that obviously then like Maggie Haberman from the fucking New York Times like clearly thinks Sarah Huckabee Sanders is ugly. I feel like Sarah Huckabee Sanders,
a lot of projecting.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders needs to look at these women that are defending her in the media and be like, what? Like, you think I'm ugly? Because Michelle only said she would be Aunt Lydia in The Handmaid's Tale, which is because she is like an aunt.
She's a traitor to women.
A traitor to women. And then she said, I mean,
she does look like her, but
yeah.
But like then that's your definition. Like she didn't call her ugly.
No, she didn't say that. And she's like, then she acts like, and she doesn't really. I mean, she looks like a much younger version of her, kind of. Like they don't even look that. You know,
no, they look like mother-daughter.
They do. Okay.
Or aunt niece.
They look like if they were related, I wouldn't be shocked.
Right.
But whatever. And then it's like, but
that's not an insult.
No, it's just like you look like that person. Yeah. And then the other thing was like the softball coach thing, which is just because she's like got a really like intense vibe and like is mean.
I took it from like that's how she speaks. Like when she like, because it does.
She got a deep voice.
She has like a deeper voice, and she's like speaks in this sort of like unenthusiastic way always. Yeah. Which like reminds me of a softball coach.
Exactly. And
not
then
a
they said
basketball
that
coach.
and then
because they
she
yell.
literally complimented her makeup.
Complimented it.
It doesn't make any sense. And then these people are like, wow, I can't believe you called her ugly. It's like, no one did that. You did that.
I did get to explain to my brother today what a smoky eye is.
Well, that's worth it all.
Because then like he was like, were they commenting on her lazy eye? And I didn't even know she had a lazy eye. I was like, no, smoky eye is like eyeshadow. It's like when you do you guys know, like you listen to this podcast, but it's like when you do like a darker, like grayish eyeshadow that makes it look like you just like came through fire, and it's smoky, which is like notable because one, it's a nighttime look. And it is weird that she does that during the day, but also like, it was a compliment. It was so weird that like people, it's like weird that that's what people honed in on.
That last section where she's like, you all are complicit in making Trump successful.
You guys all profit. And this is partly your fault.
Yeah. That I feel like it's because she said that they're like focusing on something else. Like, I know that sounds conspiracy theory-ish, but it does feel like she ended it by being like, this is all your fault. Also, Flint doesn't have clean water. And then it's like they don't talk about that at all. They talk about like the quasi, like not even that tough of a roast joke made at a literal professional liar who is defending a monster. Like,
it felt like people were offended that Michelle Wolf like told the truth and was funny about it. And so they were like, well, how can I complain about this and still seem righteous?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, I know. Because also, like, I mean, one of my favorite jokes was like her joke about Jake Tapper's orgasm face. Yeah. Which was like, I mean, that's a joke about somebody's appearance. Yeah. Sort of, yeah. But like more so than the thing about the smoky eye. Whereas like, why is this like the thing that you guys are up in arms about?
Yeah. And she also made like pretty harsh jokes about Rachel Maddow. Like, she was not like she was just one-sided.
She went after everybody, which was great. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it was cool to see Anthony and Julia in their
Instagram photos. Anthony DeVito is one of the writers for her show. Julia Solomon is his girlfriend, but more importantly, a very funny comedian, and also the one who taught me what a smoky eye is.
I know. I'm sure Julia's loving that.
Yeah. For
all
sure.
This is centered around a smoky eye.
Yeah. Julia Solomon is like our beauty guru in the comedy community. She's just like, she's the reason why I wash my face with face wash.
You never used to wash your face?
No, I would remove the makeup. And then that was it.
And you wouldn't put moisturizer on?
Not until like a year ago.
That's nuts.
And I wouldn't use a moisturizer in the morning.
Have you noticed a difference in your face?
Well, yeah. Well, so I think the reason part of why I started is because I work outside every day, and I noticed a difference after 2 years of dog walking of like, oh, that's interesting. I look my age all of a sudden. Yeah. Which like isn't a bad thing, but it was just like dramatic. Yeah. And so then I was like,
you think of sun or dirt or both?
I think sun mostly. Yeah. I mean also dirt, everything.
You weren't wearing sunscreen all that time.
Oh. But I mean I have for the now I always do. Yeah. Now I like won't leave without
put sunscreen on.
And I know, and now I know to like wait and let it set in before like venturing out. And so I'll do it the first, like when I wake up in the morning. Right. So that way when I take Bamford, I already have it on. Wow. Julia's changed everything.
Yes. Everything.
And I have like a face mask or two, which I had never done before.
You're a whole new woman.
Whole new woman.
Wow.
Not that that's what defines your womanhood.
Ariel's drinking the strangest color of wine.
I know. It looks like whiskey.
I drove here. It looks like whiskey. It's like a rosé looking thing, although it's not called a rosé.
It's a Pinot Grigio technically,
but it's sort of like a burnt orange.
I got it because the bottle looks like a whiskey bottle.
It does. Does it taste good?
I mean, what is good?
I want to taste it.
It tastes strong, which to me is perfect. Good. I like that.
Oh my God. That's not good. What is
it was $10.
Huh. Interesting.
Which I also like. I'm into that.
It's also called jacuzzi.
Yeah. I like a wine that
Sorry
knows
if you're listening and you are part of the jacuzzi family of wines.
Sponsor us. No, I like a wine that knows that it's for swingers.
Yeah. This is really gross.
I love it.
I'm glad. You're the one drinking it.
Let's see.
I mean, listen, if I wasn't driving, I would drink it. But
it's supposed to be.
I'm almost grateful that I am driving, because I would drink it and then I would regret it.
Well, I think if you were drinking, I probably would have gotten something different. But it's a bright, crisp, and well balanced with delicious tropical pear and peach flavors. Are you getting the pear and the peach?
I'm getting like spoiled wine.
Love it. Great. Love it. I know I had a moment where I was like, this wine isn't supposed to be white, is it? And I just like,
someone just peed in it.
Or it just turned.
Yeah.
And nobody noticed.
White wine turns, it doesn't turn orange. I don't know. Someone, if you know about the jacuzzi wine, let us know. But it's whatever. It's fine.
I mean, I don't have standards. I mean, whenever somebody like offers me wine and they're like, do you want to, like, I know the difference between white and red and that's it.
That's good.
And then they're like, do you want a Pinot Grigio or like a sha? I'm like, I don't know.
Chardonnay.
Thank
I
you.
actually don't know enough about wine. I'd love to take like a basic wine class. Like I don't want to get crazy about it, but I would love to know, like, I don't know. What I do know is like a Riesling is usually a little sweeter, and I like that. So I usually will go for a Riesling. Although there's this wine store by our house that I really like because it's not pretentious. There's one off the G train that's entirely not pretentious. There's one off the L train that is like the most pretentious thing I've ever seen on our way home. And it's like every bottle in there is super expensive and they're like not friendly at all. But the one off the G
like
train,
they won't let you ask questions and stuff.
Well, like they just don't seem it. Like they're like the one time I went in there, the woman was like typing something on the computer, and I was like, I kind of asked a question, and she like kind of answered it, but it's just like snooty. It's just kind of snooty vibe, and all the wines are really expensive. Like there's like maybe one like $15 bottle and the rest are like in the 30s.
Oh no, thank you.
It's crazy.
Put it in a bag.
Yeah, it's nuts. So, but then there's one off the G train that I love. I wish I could remember the name of it. That would be nice. But they're so nice. It's off the Broadway G stop on Union in Williamsburg, and they're so nice in there. They're like always are coming up and they're like, oh, can we help you? And they don't mean it in like a condescending way. They like they give you really nice advice, and like you can be like, I don't know what I'm doing here, and they'll be like, okay, well, what do you like? And like they'll help you. And they like they have like displays that are specifically like $12 and under. Like they're like, oh, they're not nice. They know what they're doing.
They're transparent.
They're transparent.
They know what.
They're like, people don't want to be spending. Somebody just want to buy some like nice wine that's like not that expensive.
Yeah.
And they're really nice about it. And they introduced us to this like sparkling wine from Spain. I forget the name of it. I should know that too. But it's like
that was on my citizenship test.
You should drink this. I'll bring you this to celebrate when you get your citizenship, because it's like $12 and it's so good. Louis and I say it tastes like, it's like wine soda. It's like sparkly but not too sparkly, and it's just like really easy to drink, and like we love it. So whenever we pass by that place, we always buy ourselves that bottle.
Okay. When Shaki and I went to Spain last summer for a wedding, and like the night, I guess it was like maybe it was the night before the wedding or then the day after. I don't remember, but we drank a lot one night. Yeah. And the next morning had to go back to like their family house or whatever, and the bride's uncle. I don't know his name. We just called him Tio. And he was just like very charming and whatever. And we got there in the morning. I was so hungover, and he was like, wine? And I was like, oh God, no. And he was like, listen to me. You never say no to wine in Spain. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll have wine then. And then it was one of those, like, they just refill your glass without any. Yeah. And then I felt much better. That's great. I just got drunk again.
Oh my God. That's amazing. The Europeans know how to do it, right? When I was in Ireland the summer after my freshman year of college, I did like a study abroad program there. And I was in Dublin, and I have like a trillion million cousins in Ireland. One of these cousins I hadn't met yet is her and her husband and their twin daughters. Yeah, they were younger at the time. And I went there, and like I went there for dinner one night, and they were like so excited to have me. I never met them, and we had this like huge dinner for me, and I was the only one drinking white wine. I eventually, she was like, "What do you want, red, white?" And I was like, "Oh, I guess white." And then I soon like realized that I was the only one drinking white wine, and then somehow there were 2 empty bottles of white wine, and we like played. It was like one of the first time I'd ever seen like a karaoke video game. Like I hadn't like seen that in the States. I guess I wasn't
like
playing
GarageBand.
Yeah, it was like
GarageBand.
It kind of was. Yeah, it was like GarageBand, which is for singing.
No, not GarageBand is
that's
the program.
Yeah. Rock Band.
Rock Band. Yeah, or whatever
that game.
Guitar Hero.
Whatever
but
it is.
for
Yeah. But it was
singing.
like so we played that, and then I blacked out, and the next thing I remember, I woke up in one of the little girls' rooms, and I smelled vomit.
Oh no!
But there was nothing. There was no mess. I just smelled it, and I was like, oh no! And I went downstairs, and they were like, "Hello, Molly. How are ye? How are you feeling better?" Like they did not care. They were just like, "This is what we wanted to happen."
Right.
I was like, "I'm so sorry," and they were like, "Nah, it doesn't matter. We don't care." Like they were the best.
That's
they just
really
got me
nice.
shit faced. They're like, "The American cousin's here. Let's feed her and get her shit faced." And she passed out and threw up, but that's okay
because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's like
be
that's
there.
what family is. So
that's nice.
It was super nice. I always remember that fondly.
I feel like if I did that with my family, my mom would take care of me, and then afterwards be like, "We're concerned about your drinking habits."
I know. Well, in this instance, it was like they clearly were pushing it. Like it was like that thing in Spain where it's like I never asked for more. The glass was just never empty.
Yeah.
And I was 18, and so I didn't know my own limits. Like I mean, I had been drinking for a while by then, but I still have a problem.
Molly was cool in high school.
Yeah,
She'd
maybe
been drinking for a while.
But I still I still have no like self-control around food or alcohol, really. Like if it's in front of me, it's really hard for me to like not consume it. So yeah.
I'm usually very good about my limits.
Yeah.
The last time I got like sick was in New Orleans. And it was like when I knew I was moving, and I was really I drank a lot like the last couple of months there because I was just really sad to be leaving, and it was at Joe Cardosi's party, and I feel like we were drinking moonshine.
Classic.
And then I remember like taking a drink of something, and that's the last thing I remember until I woke up on the couch.
Oh my God.
And then and then like went upstairs and got sick. So classy lady.
Do you feel like you were more social and like went out more in New Orleans?
Yeah. For a lot of reasons. One, it's warmer more often, and that makes it much easier to leave.
Yes.
Also, like I had various communities there. Like here I kind of only have comedy friends for the most part. Whereas in New Orleans, I had my college friends. Yeah. I had my work friends. I had my comedy friends. I had like people who it's so easy to just like meet people and talk to them and hang out and just become best friends. And then also once me and my ex broke up, part of my way of getting over that, I didn't want to date necessarily, but I would go to these like, which also if you're listening to this and you live in a city and you're trying to get over a breakup, I recommend this. I would go to like bars or like shows or whatever by myself that would like be kind of touristy, but that would have a band playing. Yeah. And I would just go and I would meet a tourist. Yeah. And we would just like have a great weekend together.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And then they would leave. That's so easy
to do in New Orleans too.
So easy.
Yeah. I feel like that's a little tougher in other cities.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends.
Because the thing about places in New Orleans is that even the touristy places is that there are tourists in cool places. That's the problem.
Right.
Is in New York, I think the tourists for the most part are in shitty places.
Yeah, you're right.
It's harder there's less integration in that way.
Yeah, and so I would automatically be with like cooler people who are down
like
for an adventure.
It's not like you have to like lower yourself. It's not like you have to go to Bourbon Street. Like you
could
even just go to
never.
Exactly. Like or like here, it's like I don't know, where do you find tourists? What are you gonna go to the M&M world? I mean, like where do you find? You know what I mean? It's weird. So no, but that's a great suggestion.
I recommend just fucking tourists.
Yeah, it's great.
It was really nice, and you like get to play pretend for a weekend.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And so you
It's
like
awesome.
do get a little bit of an emotional connection, and then and then it ends.
Yeah.
And that's the best.
Yeah.
Until you meet your Shacky,
Yeah.
who wouldn't kiss me with my fucking lipstick on.
Oh my god. Well, that's great.
You
Should
wanna
we
start
start?
this?
Yeah. Oh, this is Well Behaved.
It's a podcast about women in history who you never heard of.
I'm Molly Ruben-Long.
And I'm Ariel Elias.
And I'm going to go first this week.
Oh, okay.
Oh, or don't I go first?
I
You
think
go
it's me first.
Oh, cool. Okay, sure.
I think.
My socks are from Muses.
From where?
Muses.
Oh, from Muses.
Yeah, Muses is if you don't know, a parade. And as Ariel gets her computer out, I'll explain.
I was
like a parade in New Orleans during Mardi Gras that's all female. And this year when I went to Mardi Gras, usually you catch these like decorated shoes from Muses, and I've caught one every year, and I caught one, but it's like I don't have anywhere to put it in my home, so
I have mine on my bookshelf in my room.
Oh, cool. All I wanted was the socks and the enamel pins, and so I was with a group of people, and so this guy caught socks, and I was like, oh man, I really want socks, and he gave them to me. And earlier him and his wife had been saying that his mom really wanted a shoe, and so I was like, you know what, you can have this shoe for your mom. And he was like,
so
what?
Nice.
He was
what
like,
a good
really?
trade.
I was like, yeah, man, I can't take this home. It was a very beautiful Mardi Gras moment, because he was probably like, you're dumb, but he gave me the socks without even asking.
And you had so many shoes.
And I had so
from
many
the
shoes.
past.
I mean, they're all like in storage now. I don't know. It's sad. I never like really honored my shoes in the way I should.
Just display them somewhere.
I should do that.
All right.
Sanford's
Okay.
Frickin'
All right.
out.
All right. We ready?
All right.
I
it.
did have a moment halfway through writing this of panic, going, did we already do this one?
I know. I keep having that. I keep like having to search on iTunes. That's what I did.
What I ended up doing.
I had that with the second person too.
So unless it's like way earlier, but I don't. There were just like a couple of parts that sounded familiar, but I think it's because like a lot of things happen to women over and over
that
again
are really
in the same
similar.
way.
Yeah, I mean I did notice with both of ones. We're recording too, by the way, tonight. So I did notice with both of the people I did this week. They were like, oh man, there's so many parallels in history.
No, my one from next week is very different.
Okay.
And I'm very excited.
Cool.
Okay, but for this week, who I'm also excited about her. Okay, Debra Sampson. You didn't do her, right?
Nope.
Great. Okay. Debra Sampson was born December 7th, 1760 in Plymouth, Massachusetts. So according to one source, her father was lost at sea, but other sources said that he abandoned the family, and that was just like a story that they told. So going sailing in the 1700s is like that version of going out for a pack of cigarettes, I guess.
Yeah.
You just like wanted to leave your family. You're just like, oh, I'm gonna go fish, and then never return. Okay, so her family didn't have very much money. She's one of a bunch of kids. I don't know how many, but I think like 7.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. But now her mom's like a single mom, and she's just like, I guess like it was a common thing at the time to just like send all of your kids away.
Mm-hmm.
So her mom sends Debra to live with some relatives, and then for some reason they get tired of her, I guess, and then Debra goes and lives with this old widow who like may have been the one who taught Debra to read, because old people love the Bible, but like reading glasses are like, you can't just go get them at Rite Aid. So you just teach a child to read, and read it to you is like the easier way.
The child is the old reading glasses.
Yeah. And then the widow dies. And so when Debra is 10, she goes and works as an indentured servant.
Sick.
For this guy who, I guess he was like fine, or what, like for somebody who has a child servant. But he like had kids or whatever, and he didn't want her to be educated, but his sons.
But she could already read.
She could already read, but she had no like formal education at all.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think like his sons were just like, no, like Debra's cool, and so they would share their. Yeah. Do you want to color while I?
No, maybe.
Yeah,
but I'm just gonna like
just
doodle with these pens.
I love doing that when I'm listening to a story.
Yeah.
I love having like my fingers occupied.
Yeah.
Ew, gross. Okay.
Sick.
So this guy's sons would like share their schoolwork with Debra, which sounds like a very progressive way of getting someone to do your homework for you. But whatever.
Wow, I'm a feminist. I allow this slave child girl to do my homework. Oh, it's for her education.
It's like that. Yeah. Okay. So Debra works for this family until she's 18. And then she's like, okay, I didn't go to school, but I guess it's time for me to become a teacher, which is what's going to happen in Arizona and Kentucky. If you guys don't stop fucking around with teachers' salaries.
It's so scary.
Okay. So Debra, in addition to like knowing enough to be a teacher, which I guess doesn't, pretty low standards, but she's also just like very skilled.
I mean, she can teach people to read and write, I guess.
Yeah, which like honestly, that's all you need.
Yeah.
But I think she's also like very smart.
Yeah.
She can sew and weave. She's good at carpentry. She starts like selling her
I went to college and I can't do any of those things.
And then she like starts like going door to door and selling the things that she's making. She's just like very capable, also very strong. And either 5'7" or 5'9", depending on the source, which is like still tall by today's standards. But back then,
like super tall.
Jesus Christ. The average woman was 5 feet tall. The average man was 5'6".
Whoa.
So she's like already
above average.
Yeah, she's already taller than most men.
Wow. That's great news.
I mean, they're all like very malnourished, but in addition to that, she was like very plain looking. So like not ugly, just unremarkable.
Like Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Like, and so Debra ends up. I actually think Sarah Huckabee Sanders is pretty.
Okay,
I know that's controversial.
I mean, I don't think she's that busted looking. She looked really pretty last night, actually.
She looked great.
I mean, she's not like whatever. She's fine.
I mean,
she's
I know she like went through a makeover.
She's like a solid 5 on a good day.
Yeah, she's like she's a
we are really defeating the purpose.
Sorry, I know. Yeah, we don't have to do this. Okay,
that's fine. Whatever.
But also,
I don't know. But she's also literally a horrible person, I don't care.
No. I'm not above making fun of somebody's looks.
Right. If they are evil on the inside, I'm gonna make fun of how you look on the outside.
I like roasting people.
Yeah.
For all of the things. Okay. But so Debra is like, she's like, I'm going to use this to my advantage. The fact that I'm like plain and tall. So according to the Female Review, which is a book written about her life, written in 1797, which I took a stab at, but it's just a lot of like saying whilst and ergo. And I was like, all right, I'm done. But according to that book, Debra really wanted to travel. Other sources said that Debra's main motivation was that she was like incredibly patriotic. But either way, Debra disguises herself as a man, uses the name Timothy Thayer, sews her own uniform, and enlists in the army.
Sick. Wait, what year is this again?
This is 1781.
Okay.
Is that? I wrote it down somewhere. Yeah. So like there was like one thing that said like she heard the battle like going, like she would hear bombs and shit, and she was just like, I want to be in that.
It's never been my response.
No,
to
me neither.
Violence.
Some people just have that though.
I know. Good for them.
I feel like those people are like not afraid of confrontation.
I'm not afraid of confrontation, but I'm silly about like I don't know the consequences of it. I'm probably too open to confrontation. I feel in general like if I see like some kind of injustice, I like would step in.
Injustice
and that's
is
probably
different.
But even like if someone's like being shitty to someone on the subway or something, I feel like I would step in.
Oh yeah,
which
I will.
Is, like,
and I have
stupid and dangerous because I don't have any kind of self-defense skills. If like some crazy person was like to do something, you know.
No,
whatever.
I have done that before, but whatever. But also I've called 311 on my neighbors instead of just going over there and asking them to turn the music down.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They play it so loud, so
Are they just
late.
the people in this building?
No. I like everybody in my.
It was like
house.
in.
It was like right next door. Our next door neighbors, they like built this like outdoor area It's like enclosed, but they blast music whenever it's warm out. And like, I give it until midnight.
That's fair.
And then after midnight, it's like, hey, like people
even on a weekend?
What?
On a weekend?
Yeah. But Shaggy works a lot on the weekends. Like he gets up like at 8 a.m. on a Saturday.
That's fair.
And so it's like, I've only done it once, but I'll do it again. God damn it.
But also midnight's not that late on a weekend.
To be blasting music, it's one like we don't. This isn't a bar, like you know what I mean. Like,
no, you're right. Do they police come and they call and
they come at like 5 hours later.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't make a difference. But like if it's just people outside, I don't care. Like I'm never gonna bust up somebody's party. It's just the music for the like, because that I can't.
Honestly, it might turn down quicker if you just go over and ask them.
Yeah, you're right. But like,
what about Shaggy? Shaggy doesn't want a confrontation either. You just call me. I'll go over there.
Okay, you'll come all the way up from Brooklyn to tell my neighbors to turn it down.
Sure.
I'll just go over there and I'll put you on speakerphone and you tell them for me.
It's a great idea.
Okay. So
I'll say you have like some sort of like social disorder where you can't speak, and then I'm your caretaker.
Yeah.
And that you really need them to turn the music down for medical reasons.
I'm a mute, but I can hear everything. Yeah. So turn it down as I talk into my podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. So Debra enlists under the name Timothy Thayer, and she collects her signing bonus, but then she doesn't report for duty. And one source said it was because she heard that the guy in charge, like the captain or whatever, had a mean streak and treated his men badly. But really what it was is that somebody from home had recognized her because she had this specific weird way of holding a pen. Something with like her pointer finger was weird. Gotcha. And so she adjusted and held it differently. And this old woman saw Timothy writing something and was like, oh my God, that's so weird. You hold a pen just like this girl I knew, Debra. And she's like,
and I'm sure that girl was like looking at the face and being like, that's so weird. You also look like Debra.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure that woman's like, I mean, okay.
Right.
How good was the disguise, you know?
Right. And so Debra was like, bye.
Like, she's like, oh, wow, cool, bye.
And so she paid back some of the bonus, like whatever she hadn't spent, she just gave it back.
Yeah.
And then just laid low. And everybody, including the military, was like, let's just pretend this never happened. Like, we don't need to bother with this. But then she tries again. And this time she uses the name Robert Shirtliff, which is hilarious. Robert was her brother's name. Shirtliff just sounds like I dare you to lift my shirt and see what's under there. But so she enlists with this elite company called the Light Infantry Company. And these soldiers like specifically had to be taller and stronger than the rest. So Debra, and then in addition, like Debra becomes like a standout within this company.
Oh, cool.
So there was this New York Times article written in 1898 that said about her. As a soldier, she showed great activity, courage, and valor. On scouring parties, which maybe that's supposed to be scouting. I think that's supposed to be scouting, and I typed it wrong. Okay. On scouting parties, she would usually ride forward a little nearer the enemy than any of her comrades dared. She was very fleet and had the reputation of being the fastest runner in the army.
Cool.
And then July 3rd, 1782, Debra is fighting in a battle, and she takes 2 musket balls to the thigh. So now she officially has balls. And another soldier.
That's a good one.
Thank you so much. I'm really proud of it. Another soldier sees her and is like, I got you. And she's like, no. Like, don't let me die. Please. Like, or like, no, don't, comma. Let me die, please.
Gotcha.
Because she's just like, I can't have anybody discover that I'm a woman.
Yeah. Ugh.
So he's like, no way, Robert.
It's the flaw in the plan of these women who disguise themselves. It's like whenever they get hurt or sick, that's the problem.
Like, but I think they just figure like they'll either die or they'll get away with it, or they just won't get injured.
Yeah, exactly. But he wouldn't let him or her. Wouldn't let Robert die.
Right. So he throws her on his horse, takes her to the hospital. She also had a gash on her forehead from like a sword, I guess.
Wow.
So the doctor treats the gash, and then she sneaks out before they can get her uniform off. And then she removes one of the musket balls herself.
Ew.
And then the other one is too deep.
Ew. Yuck.
So she's like, well, I guess that's just in me now.
Yeah.
And sort of recovers, but like never fully does. Like her leg is always
like a huge ball of metal in your leg. It's never gonna really be the same.
Yeah. Her leg is always like a little fucked up. So she is then reassigned to work for this guy General Patterson. So she's still fighting. She's still enlisted. Nobody knows who she is. And then she comes down with like a really bad fever, like really like she's about to die. She's on the verge. She's taken to the doctor, and this doctor does discover her identity because he has to like, I don't know, for some reason he has to take off her clothes. Whatever.
Well, even the boob, like if he's like checking her temperature, like, you know, and feeling her chest or something,
sure.
maybe she cold.
Well, I
it's
think
like
he discovered that like, I mean, she would tape her tits down.
Yeah.
And so I think if you just like take somebody's shirt off and discover that they have tape on their breast, you're like, interesting.
Yeah.
But he doesn't rat her out. He takes her home and turns her over to his wife to take care of. So they nurse her back to health. And when she's ready to leave, the doctor sends a letter to General Patterson revealing that Robert Shirtliff is actually Debra Sampson, is actually a woman. And the general reads the letter, and he's like, okay, but she was such a good soldier that I'm not even mad.
Cool.
So she's given an honorable discharge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the general gives her enough money to get back home and is like, thank you for your service.
But also you
can't come back, but like, I'm not mad. Like, because most women, either they were erased from the thing or dishonorably discharged. So Debra just like, she goes back to her life. She gets married. Although a lot of historians speculate that she was a lesbian.
Or maybe trans.
Yeah, maybe. It's like, it's always hard to know.
It's unfortunate, but there's no way for them to have even like been able to accept that in themselves if it was there.
Well, but also it's like, okay, but are you changing your identity to become a man because you feel that deep inside you are a man, or because there are just more opportunities for men?
Yeah. Who knows?
And so it's like, yeah. Did you ever read Orlando by Virginia Woolf?
Mm-mm.
That's a fun one. It's like, it's about a trans person,
cool.
basically. It's like somebody who like mysteriously goes from like being a man to being a woman.
Oh, awesome.
It's great. It's very funny too. But, okay. So she has some kids with this guy. They try to work the land that her husband had, but the farm was like shit because he didn't rotate the crops like you're supposed to. And so the land was tired. Guys, rotate your crops. So they have no money, and Debra realizes, she's like, I think the army owes me money. 'Cause like there was like a point where they weren't paying me, and like they probably should have, and I have an honorable discharge. So she petitions the Massachusetts state legislature, and they give her some back pay from when she was serving. And then she's like, oh, I think I can like do that. Like, I think I can make a career from this. Yeah. So she starts going around the country talking about like war stories. I think also there was like one thing I said that she was also talking about like traditional gender roles, but I think she was like pro. Yeah. Which is weird. But then she would end each lecture with a demonstration. Like she would go through some like crazy army like drill and just be like, I can do this pretty easily, and you guys can't.
That's funny. Be like, ooh, look at me. I'm strong.
Yeah, just be like, bitch, like I can do this.
Like a circus act of strength.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's still pretty broke, and this time she was like, I think I'm supposed to get a pension. Like most soldiers get pensions. So Paul Revere writes on her behalf, this is when I was like, did Molly already do this person? Because I think Paul Revere like wrote for a couple of women on their behalf, which is nice of him, I guess. Wouldn't do it for any of the black women who fought, but he would do it for white women. So Paul Revere writes on her behalf, and the army is like, all right, fine. And like they don't give her all that she asked for, but like they gave her enough, and she's able to pay her debt.
I did that whose name I do not remember. I'm very bad with names, but I did the black woman who I think was around this time who didn't have anyone like on her behalf. But she also, I mean, this is kind of interesting because she was also like actually apparently like really she wasn't very good at it, and she like lasted like one day. So I don't know, but I'm sure it was racist, but also she wasn't very good.
That is like an interesting thing because we've done a few soldiers. Yeah. But this one is and it's hard to tell like what's revisionist. Yeah. And what's real. But this seems to be the one where everybody agrees like, no, she was a great soldier. Yeah. Like she fought, she was in battle, and there was no reason why she shouldn't have been except that she was a she. Yeah. So the army like gives her enough money. She's able to like pay her debts, and throughout like anytime she was like down on her luck, she kind of asked Paul Revere, she was like, hey man, I know the British are coming, but like can you loan me some money? And he was like, yeah, sure. So and then in 1827 at the age of 66 she dies of yellow fever, and then her husband petitions the army and is like, hey, I know that like when most soldiers fight and they die, their widow gets a pension. Can I get that widow pension? And they're like, yeah, fine. But then he died before he could get it.
Oh, damn. Well,
and that's Debra Sampson.
Cool. Debbie.
Debs.
That's a good one. My person this week is, do you have sources?
Oh, yes, I do. Thank you for asking. Thank you so much for asking. My sources were the National Women's History Museum, the Female Review by Herman Mann, which sounds like a pen name for a woman, New York Times, and Wikipedia.
Sick. So my person this week is Yuri Kochiyama, who was suggested on your Facebook post about who, like, women we hadn't heard of by Jessica Hong and Joel Kim Booster.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, I'm going to check this lady out. So she was born May 19th, 1921. May 19th is my brother's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Patrick.
May 19th, 1921.
I saw so much of him this weekend. It was so nice.
I know. It was nice. In San Pedro, California, which I thought was San Pedro. And I said it to Louis, and he was like, no, we pronounce it San Pedro.
I thought it was San Pedro, too.
Apparently. Well, it's like
they
Los Angeles.
It the right way.
It's like Los Angeles. No, Pedro is wrong. Pedro would be right.
No, Pedro is right.
Really?
Yeah.
Pedro.
Like in Spanish, it's Pedro. It's not Pedro.
Oh, well, then I guess that's right. Well, now I forget. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm mixing it up. Anyway, they pronounce it some way. But
she was born in the SP, in the San P.
Which was like a mostly white suburb of Los Angeles. And she was Japanese American, but like super assimilated. Like she described herself. I saw this video of Sandra Oh reading a speech by her, and she describes herself as, quote, so red, white, and blue. Like she's taught Sunday school at the church. She's the first girl elected to the student council at her high school. She wrote a sports column for the school paper. She's just like living the American dream in this suburb of LA.
It's like my college roommate. She was technically she wasn't an American citizen. She was Thai, but my mom called her Barbie. She was like she was
just like a type A person.
Like, she was just like so American girly.
That's so funny. Yeah. So she was so Yuri was like that. Claire. She her dad owned a fish and marine supply business, and her mom was like more unique than a lot of women of the time. Her mom had a college degree and smoked and like taught piano, but also still like maintain the house or whatever. So yeah, that was her upbringing, just this like normal American California life. She went on to study journalism at Compton Community College, and then December 7th, 1941 happens, and Pearl Harbor is bombed, and on that same day FBI agents come to her house and arrest her dad.
Same day?
On December 7th they come get him. So they accuse him of espionage. And in that video where Sandra Oh says her words, she says that like they didn't know at first where they took him. Like they just took him and didn't say anything. And eventually they found out that he was arrested for espionage, which was entirely untrue. But he had just gotten ulcer surgery. Like he had gotten home the day before from ulcer surgery, and they denied him medical care in the prison, so he died 6 weeks later.
Oh my God.
Meanwhile, her and the rest of her family are taken to an internment camp in Jerome, Arkansas, and she talks about, again in this video, how she believed so strongly in America that for the first while she just kept thinking like, okay, well, this will only last for a few weeks, like they won't, how could they possibly keep us here, like blah blah blah. And then she said this really powerful quote. She said, the more I think about it, the more I realize how little you learn about American history. It's just what they want you to know. And then she talks about how it's like very common for like America to like wall off groups of people and stuff like that. It's really beautiful. If you just Google like Sandra Oh, Yuri Kochiyama, you can find it. Or maybe we'll put it on the Facebook group.
I mean, that's like,
it's a really cool speech.
It is crazy though, like once you actually like get into it and you're like, wait, hold on, this whole story is very different from what I was taught.
No, it's entirely different. It's so nuts. So anyway,
if only there was a podcast.
I know. So while she's in the internment camp, she organizes a group of women to send like supportive letters to Japanese Americans who are fighting in the war, which like they were doing that, which is nuts. She's released in 1944 to help run a USO Center for Soldiers in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and that's where she meets her husband, Bill Kochiyama. He was a soldier and he was returned. They married in 1946 and they eventually had 6 kids, although I read in one of her obituaries that 2 of them at some point died in car accidents, which is really sad, but I'm not sure when that happened. So they moved together, her and Bill. They moved to New York City.
They didn't want to stay in Mississippi?
God, no.
I actually do like Hattiesburg, though.
Yeah, Hattiesburg is fun. But actually, as you will see there, I'm sure that her life was influenced by that. Well, obviously by all of these experiences. But they moved to New York City. And first they move into like a project building behind Lincoln Center. Then they move to Harlem. And once they get to Harlem, they meet all their neighbors who are like mostly African American and Puerto Rican, and they become deeply entrenched in the civil rights movements for both of these people. And they enroll in something called freedom schools, which were these like, you know, sort of like unofficial schools that would teach people about Black history and culture. And she just took to these movements like immediately. And her apartment just became like an activist meeting area. She was a social activist in fighting for all these different things, for African American rights, for Japanese internment reparations, for prison reform, for Puerto Rican independence, for everything. She's just like becomes like a full-time activist basically. She's called Sister Yuri by many African Americans during the time, including Amari Baraka and Angela Davis. So they like accept her and realize that and like believe in her commitment to the causes. In 1963, she's arrested with many other like primarily African American people in Brooklyn over a discrimination hiring. And Malcolm X shows up while they're like waiting for their arraignment or whatever.
Wait, why were they arrested?
They were like protesting and they got arrested.
Okay.
They were protesting some place for discriminatory hiring, and they get arrested, and then Malcolm X shows up. This is 1963. And there's this interview with her where she talks about how he shows up and all the protesters like kind of mob him, like they're so excited to meet him. And she was like, at first she stayed back and she was like, I really want to meet him too, but I sort of feel like it's a Black thing and like whatever. And then she sees all these people and she's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go up and ask if he'll shake my hand. So she goes up and she's like, okay, if he looks up this way towards me, I'm just going to ask. And that's what happened. And she did. And she was like, can I shake your hand? And then apparently, according to her, Malcolm X was like, why? And she was like, so I can congratulate you. And Malcolm X was like, on what? And she was like, she's like giving direction to your people, and then that like changed his attitude. Like I think at first he was like, first of all he was like who is this Asian lady, and then he like appreciated that answer, and then they shook hands, and then she said to him like, I disagree with you a little bit, and he was like, what? And she was like, yeah, like I believe in you know, integration, I don't in not like such radical things. And he was like, interesting. And so they shook hands, and that began this, you know, short obviously because of his death, but very sort of like this brief but important friendship that they had in the last like year of his life, where he kind of radicalized her views. Like she read up on him and like joined his organization, and they wrote postcards and letters to each other. In 1964, he went to her apartment and met atomic bomb survivors from Japan. Oh, wow. So yeah, they had this like sort of brief, like maybe year and a half friendship. And
like a discourse.
Yeah, and discourse, exactly.
Where they're like, we have the same goals, we just have very different methods.
Yeah,
let's talk about it. And she
kind of leaned towards his methods eventually. Like she, but it was, they had this like kind of weird connection. And then on February 22nd, 1965, she went to go hear him speak at the Audubon Ballroom. And that is the day that he was shot. And there's this very famous picture. I'll pull it up for you. There's this very famous picture. And definitely we'll post this on things, from Life magazine, of him shot on the stage. And there's like a small Asian woman who's like holding his head in her hands. And she was that woman. And apparently like everyone else was like running away from it, and she went towards him and held his head in her hand and was like, please live, Malcolm, please live. And obviously he didn't.
They just had like a very genuine friendship.
Yeah, it was like this really intense thing. That's her.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Anyway, so she went on to live for many more years. And kept up her activism her whole life. She campaigned against the Vietnam War. She had created organizations of Asian Americans against the Vietnam War. She protested for nuclear disarmament. She helped protest for Puerto Rican independence, including this very successful protest where they were able to hang a Puerto Rican flag on the Statue of Liberty.
When was that?
You know, I think it was in the 70s. I don't have the exact year on here. Or maybe the 80s.
I didn't know that happened.
Yeah. She advocated for the liberation of prisoners. Like, for instance, there's this one prisoner named, Mumia Abu Jamal, who was serving a life sentence in, I think it was Philadelphia, for killing a police officer. And he was in there for like 30 years, and he maintained his innocence. And she, on her Christmas cards, she just wrote save Mumia at the bottom of all of her Christmas cards.
That's a real Michelle Wolf, Flint still doesn't have clean water.
Yeah, it was just like, hi, remember this. And then in 1988, her husband was one of the people who went to Congress on behalf of Japanese internment reparations and a formal apology to like talk about his experience. And because he was a veteran, a Japanese American veteran, and was like, hi, this was very shitty of you. So him and her, and they were kind of like an activist couple, I guess, and they helped get the Civil Liberties Act passed in 1988, which was the formal apology for Japanese internment and the reparations of $20,000 per person to every interned Japanese American, which, just as a reminder, never been any kind of reparations for slavery. Okay. Cool that we can do it. We just haven't. Okay.
Yep.
So wild. In 1993, her husband passes away, and in 1997, she has a stroke, and so 2 years later, in 1999, she moves to Oakland, California to be closer with her kids. This like Seattle-based hip-hop group called Blue Scholars, who I'd never heard of, wrote a song about her, which is like fine. It's a little like corny, but it's nice that they did that.
It's my dream to have a song written about me.
Wow.
Of any genre.
Oh, that's cool. there are FBI files apparently that called her, quote, a ringleader of black nationalists and, quote, a red Chinese agent, which is like so racist. She is Japanese.
My other dream though is to have an FBI file.
I know, she's living all the dreams.
Jesus Christ though.
She passed away she was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize in 2005. And
which we've already discussed our issues with the Nobel Prize Committee.
Very sexist, but anyway, at least she was nominated. And then she died in 2014 at the age of 93. So she did get to see Obama become president, which is
93
cool as a civil rights activist. And she said this quote in her life: "An injury or injustice to one is an injury and injustice to all." So that was Yuri Kochiyama, who was just like a lifelong activist that I had never, ever heard of.
Yeah, me neither.
She was pretty amazing.
Well, they don't want you to know.
They don't want you to know. The sources for me were the LA Times obituary by Elaine Wu, this NPR story from 2013 by Hansi Lo Wang, a Bustle article by Yvette Dion, I don't know. And this is a very sad one, but the ObamaWhiteHouse.com archives, because they like,
is it gone now?
Did like a
on the archives, on the White House archives.
It just says like, it's like ObamaWhiteHouseArchives.org. They must do it by administration or something. And it just was like the day that she died, they gave like someone from the administration gave like a little speech about her or something. So
that's so nice. That is very sad.
Yeah,
we've come so far.
I know.
And
I know. Sometimes I feel like sometimes I feel like grateful that some people passed away before they even had to know.
Yeah. Well,
what happened? They're like, wow, things are really turning around. It's like they just rest peacefully, not knowing that this happened.
Well, do you remember that that viral video of like, it was like an old person who was clearly about to die, and I think it was a woman, they told her that Trump had been impeached.
Before she
before
see that.
She died, just so she could
have
die happy.
I know. The saddest for me was that woman, that like whatever she was, 100-something-year-old woman who was like such a huge Hillary supporter, and she like would wear the buttons and she would like roll around, and she was like the sweetest seeming old lady, and she was like so happy. And then there was like a video of her watching Trump win, and it was like, or a picture maybe, and it was like that made me want to throw up. Yeah. I like couldn't handle it.
And just a reminder that a lot of that there were several instances of actively trying to prevent people in nursing homes from voting. So it's just a fun thing.
Oh well.
Oh, look where we are.
Yeah.
Okay. As Jordan Temple always says, it's got to get worse before it gets worse. Okay. Do you have a Wonder Woman?
I do not.
I do. So if you're not familiar, we try to highlight a woman who might be making history today, so that we may not make the same mistake again of forgetting. Okay, I had a glass of wine. Okay.
Yay.
So my person is Kim Worthy, who is she is the prosecutor for Detroit. I'm sure there's an official way of saying that. But there's a documentary that just came out that I haven't watched yet, but I really want to, with Mariska Hargitay and her, about ending the backlog, because Detroit famously has like 11,000 untested rape kits.
Oh my god!
That are
also,
just
I love that Mariska Hargitay is just like leaning into her life mission.
Is it Mariska?
Mariska. I think you're. I don't know. But still, I'm proud of her for that.
Yeah, well, and so there's this interview that I read with both of them in Vogue, because they did this documentary together of like, basically Kim Worthy is like determined to test every single one of those rape kits.
Damn, that's awesome.
And the documentary is called I Am Evidence. And Mariska Hargitay talks about how like the reason why she got so involved is because, I mean, obviously she's on Law and Order SVU. She's Olivia Benson, if you don't know. But like, because she was on that show, and she is sort of like the moral compass of that show, and her character is a product of rape.
Yeah.
But she said that in real life, all of these people were sharing their stories with her.
Oh, man, I'm sure. And she's like so inspiring.
Yeah. And she said she felt like very honored that people felt comfortable sharing their stories with her. I can't imagine the emotional toll that takes on you. But she doesn't make it about that at all. She's just like, I'm like honored that people will share that with me. And so she said like when she found out that there were all these untested rape kits, she was like shocked or whatever. And that's when she started End the Backlog. But so Kim Worthy is the other half of this sort of partnership, who, I mean, like, I don't know if you're into like true crime or whatever, but obviously like the Golden State Killer stuff like made headlines today. And it's like, yeah, like rapes, I don't know, it escalates, right? Like it doesn't usually just stay. And so like for everybody to be so excited that the Golden State Killer was caught, and then at the same time to have this juxtaposition of 11,000 untested rape kits in one city alone is like, how do you not see that connection?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
are people denying that connect? Like, how are they? I don't see why they're. But you can't be thrilled about one and angry about the other.
No. I'm saying like it's weird that as a society we get so excited about the capture of this person.
Yeah,
and we're also very indifferent to
like the thing that
this crime that leads to
the
that
not capture of that person. Yeah,
And it's obviously like, I mean, I think part of it is that it happens to women. And in Detroit specifically, I think part of it is that it happens to a lot of Black women. And so it's really easy to just say, like, to just ignore it. And Kim Worthy is not ignoring it.
That's awesome. Cool. Wonder Woman is Kim Worthy. I want to watch a documentary. Where is it? Do you know where
it's
it
on
is?
HBO. So maybe
Oh,
we can,
cool.
I mean, I know you have like stuff we have another thing to record.
I know.
We'll
see though.
Yeah,
maybe
I Am Evidence.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that was a good one.
Thanks.
Do you have some dates?
I just have one.
Cool.
But I'll be on Thursday, May 3rd. I'll be at Offside Tavern at 8:00.
Cool.
I'll do next week's too. On Wednesday, May 9th, I will be at Pet Shop in Jersey City at 8:00. And on May 12th, Saturday, I will be at the Creek in the Cave at 8:00.
Cool. I got a busy week this week. I'm going out of town a little bit.
Oh, girl.
But Tuesday, I'm doing a show at Pine Box Rock Shop at 8:00. Wednesday, I'm doing the Philadelphia Punchline at 8. Thursday, no, nothing Thursday. But then Friday and Saturday, I'll be in Chicago. Friday, I'll be at Wet Cash at 9:00 at Dark Tower Comics. And Saturday, I'll be at 2 Hour Comedy Hour at Gallery Cabaret at 8 and the Laugh Factory at 8:15. I will be doing those both somehow at the same time. And then next week, I'll be at Devour Hour at Hank's Saloon at 8:00 on the 9th. Back in here in New York.
Molly's getting booked.
Well, yeah, you got to do those road gigs, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool,
Okay.
man. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you. Keep making history. Rate us on iTunes.
Yeah, oh yeah, do that.
And don't you ever say that she was well behaved.